with your introduction. Like, how was your experience in London IIT? How did you get
Yeah,
started in this field? And then maybe
that's
more.
cool. Yeah, so let me remember and gather all my thoughts about that. So back when I was there, I was in the Y08 batch, if you guys know. So we joined, yeah, 2008. In the first few year, like first year or so, I started working on microcontrollers, like making robots, like small ones, like line followers and path followers and things like that. There were a couple of really cool seniors during our time, Jatin Sharma and Manoj Alwani, who guided us at that point in time. Yeah, and then we did at if I remember correctly, that was the first time we had a technical component of Vivacity. So during Vivacity was going on, there was a technical test going on, and me and Ashutosh, we organized it. It was a huge pain in the ass because no one had any idea how to do this thing. So we went to like lot of shops, getting things done ourselves, and organizing it just like over 3 days without sleeping even a minute. That was quite painful, but it was fun. Like we invited a lot of people from all around Jaipur, not from outside, but yeah, it was quite fun. And yeah, from microcontrollers, what I did was I did a internship in the second year, I think, at IIT Kanpur during through their Surge program. If you guys have heard about it, it's like
Yes.
summer undergraduate
Yeah,
research or something. Yeah, and it was really good because it was very well structured. So you had some milestones you had to deliver every month or so. You present at the end, and then you get your certification. They also give you a small stipend. They help you with your boarding and lodging as well. So that was a great experience. I did a little bit of research during that time on like sensor networks, like multi-sensor networks and things like that. Although like from okay, I'll go through the experience, and then I'll guide you guys like what you like, at least for the students who are already there, because that could be helpful. And then in the second year, I did this course on mobile robotics, um, which from one of the faculty members who joined us only for like maybe a year, I think, Mahesh Mohan. He was from Triple IT Hyderabad, and he was finishing his master thesis at that time. And we learned about probabilistic robotics. So if you guys have heard about problems like SLAM,
yeah.
localization, mapping. So I did that in MATLAB on a simulator because buying robots was way more expensive. I don't know if it's still the case and you guys have fundings and stuff in at Alumni, but we had no such thing. So designing a robot which could do SLAM would have taken me a few semesters. So I did it like in MATLAB, and using that experience, I got an internship in Italy. Actually, running all of that stuff on a small robot. Um, it's called a Kepera. It's like a tiny robot about like a fish size, and there's a small lidar on top, the cheapest one. You build a map of the environment and you use it to navigate. During that internship, I also studied a little bit of control side. So like how do you maintain formation on multi-robots? Maybe it could be interesting for you, Pankuri, because that group also works on underwater robotics. So their base experience is in underwater robotics from University of Casino, and they wanted someone to work on mobile robots um, to do the same things, let's say connectivity maintenance and everything else. But for that, they needed someone to do the SLAM localization part, and that was my job. So that experience went really well. I published a couple of papers from that. It was around third year or something, like end of third year for me. And then in the fourth year, one of the semesters, I took like 8 courses to finish all my extra courses within the seventh semester. So I had 8 semester completely empty. I had to because I was in there was a branch at that time called CCE. Does it still exist?
Yeah,
Okay, so I
mechanical
did.
CA only.
Okay, so yeah, so communication and computer engineering was a fun branch, but there was like lot of work because we had to take courses from both computer science and electronics, and there were more electives, but you have number of core courses were way more than ECE or CCE put together. So that was a pain, but I got through it. Like 7th semester, I finished all of that, and in the 8th semester, I tried to go back to that group. I had to convince the dean that like this would be my thesis per se. I accepted that I won't get any credits for it, but it was a good experience. So I ended up spending another semester there, which was also really good for my experience, and that helped me bridge the gap. Like, can I do research? Maybe yeah, I think I can, and that's why I decided to go for a master's degree. Yeah, and I did my master's in Germany, 1 year in Bremen, which is the north of the country, and 1 year in Munich. Yeah, in TU Munich. That's where I did my master thesis as well. All my courses were related to robotics, perception, computer vision, and my thesis was also related to 3D reconstruction of objects using RGBD cameras. For example, if you have an RGBD camera connected to your laptop, you show it as an object, and it can generate a 3D model of it, so you can import it into AR, VR scenarios. Yeah, and then once I graduated, I was not sure if I wanted to do a PhD or work, so I ended up looking for jobs and PhDs both. Um, I found some positions, and then I decided to jump continents again and come to Canada. That's where I am right now, but with some circles. So I worked at ClearPath Robotics for about 4 years. If you guys heard about them, they make those yellow black robots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they even in NUS they supplied those AUVs, and I had
exactly.
chance of meeting those guys at RosCon at Macau last
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So Ryan, he was my our like ClearPath CTO. Um, he is one. They are one of the co-founders of ROS, basically from the perception, from the inception, let's say, from Willow Garage times. Um, ClearPath also maintain a shit ton of ROS packages they buy themselves. For example, for supporting their own robots and for supporting PR2 and other public robots as well for a very long time. So at ClearPath, I got to work on, yeah, as you can imagine, variety of robots. At that point, they were starting to work on other autonomous applications as well, not just selling these robots for research purposes, but setting up their own robots, um, and doing things with that. And I worked on autonomous mining trucks, indoor robots, outdoor robots, retail robots, like as much as you can imagine, um, with focus towards perception, computer vision, SLAM, localization, state estimation problems. Yeah. So that was like for about 3.5, 4 years. Then I jumped continents again. I worked a couple of years in Vienna, in Austria, which is like one of the most beautiful cities you can imagine. And if you get a chance, once your Pankudi is going to Saarland, you should definitely visit Vienna. It's really pretty. Yeah, there I was working at a AR company. So if you guys have heard about HoloLens, for example, so we had a competing product for industrial purposes. The company was called Dakri. Um, and I was doing state estimation and SLAM and perception for them as well. Couple of years ago, oh sorry, a year ago, the company got bought by Snapchat. So now my team, which I was leading a bit there, is now working for Snap Glasses, and I decided to come back to Canada. So now I'm in Canada, working with Zebra Technologies, which is a world leader in retail computing. So, for example, whenever you go to like Big Bazaar or one of these giant stores, you've seen a lot of barcode scanners, all kinds of handheld scanners, all kinds of tablet scanners, everything. all of that is made by Zebra. And we want to do all of that on top of a robot. So you can imagine the problem complexity going up because now instead of a person moving in a store, a robot is moving in a store, looking at inventory, checking if everything is there, checking if something has been misplaced, something is missing, and notifying the store owner for that. Because that's a huge source of revenue for the stores, or huge loss of revenue for stores if a person who comes to the store cannot find an object on a particular shelf. So as you can imagine, these robots are equipped with about 10 odd cameras with 3D sensors, LiDAR, rangefinder. So there's a lot of perception, computer vision problems associated with that, and that's what I work on right now. Yeah. So that's my, let's say, short summary of my experiences. Yeah, and yeah, I'm happy to answer whatever questions you guys might have, and whatever you're looking for.
So one thing is there for all those, especially the Y18, Y19 guys who are in second and third year currently, might be
Yeah.
because, uh, actually the experience of both Nikhil and mine have been similar. Like we also started with microcontrollers, line follower robots, and in the field
Yeah.
the robotics club, which I think which was founded around your time only, and then
Yeah. So it was called Mix Club around that time. I don't know if it's still called the same.
currently. So Nikhil was coordinator in his time, and I was
Your
sub-coordinator.
time.
And now even we
Right.
have, if you would like to know that this time the tech fest has improved a lot. So we were able to
Nice.
produce drone obstruction and many other events to a large extent from other North Indian colleges too.
That's
And
cool. Yeah.
yeah, and like similarly, you had a good experience with search program in IIT Kanpur. So we got the
Yeah.
opportunity to do in Triple IT Delhi on this multi UAV obstacle avoidance, where we made use of the
Ah,
Vaibhav
cool.
system. So yeah, so it seems that these similar steps they actually help you in getting to masters research papers, and
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So from my experience, if I look back, um, for better or worse, from what I understand as a student, if you are motivated enough and you have so this is what I think. When you join a university, like as a bachelor student, there's a lot of things to learn. um, don't rush it and don't try to do too many things at one time. So because I over the last 10 years, as you can imagine, a lot of people have got in touch with me, and the thing that has stuck with me the most is after the end of the first year, let's say, you should be confident that you are able to go through your courses without any issue. You should start doing something extra other than the courses, let's say at the end of first year. So let's say first summer. At the end of second summer, you should try a couple of different things, whatever you can, based on the courses you have taken, based on whatever the possibility is for you. At the end of third year, which is like the summer of the sixth semester, after the sixth semester, you should have some idea what you want to work on in the future. It could be anything, right? Like you don't have to have a fixed handle on this is what I'm going to work on. But if you're motivated enough, you should have understanding of, like, let's say computer vision is like what I want to work on, or robotics is what I want to work on. And at the end of fourth year, you should have a full on confidence on yourself that I can do this, but maybe I need more experience in certain aspects of it. And how do I go and achieve that? So if you follow these timelines, that will help you a lot. It will also keep you a bit focused. Um, there will come times when you will have a question of why should I go for a master's rather than, let's say, a job? Because now that you have a possibility, you can talk to more experienced people at that point in time, and you should also think, is it, or whenever you have a question like that, project yourself 5 years, or let's say 2 to 5 years in the future, think about what your goals are with your life. If you are able to achieve them, taking one of the decisions, take that. If you're not sure, ask someone who might have done that, and that helps a lot. Yeah, that's what I've done, uh, and it has helped me a lot. Like I still get these questions. So what is it? What I want to do 5 years down the line, and I want to be sure right now. But it will never work like that. Like look at COVID, right? This is a once in a century thing, or maybe not anymore. Once in 50 years or half a century, and it will happen again. So don't worry about things like that. Just yeah, try to like a few years here and there is nothing in the grand scale of things. So don't worry. If you can start now, uh, take it step by step. It should be fine. It would work. It will work out.
That's true.
It always does. Yeah.
Yeah.
All you need to be is just keep learning, and everything works out.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so one thing, since you have you really have great experience in SLAM, and actually my BTech thesis was also based on this indoor mobile robot navigation, which included SLAM and
Yeah.
planning. So while
Okay.
working in it, I had done a research on various SLAM methods currently in with ROS support as well as without ROS support.
Without Rosetta. Yeah.
I was able to understand many of those because I had done some basic courses on probabilistic robotics like
Robotics. Yeah.
Kalman filters and all. But I could see
Yeah.
that there were many other approaches like graphical approaches, or in
Graphical
recent
approaches.
times
Yeah.
they even had the CNN like DL combined with. So one thing which always came to my mind was, okay, I can understand, I can download the package, I can install, I can understand some parameters, but those who are
Yeah.
right, actually the lab or the research group which is writing the code. So I often felt that I don't have that all subject knowledge or all domain
Yeah.
knowledge for that. And I think this case is similar, like this would be doubt for other students who have just graduated from bachelor's, because not all
Yeah.
specialized courses are there. So what would you
Yeah.
recommend, like some of the basic prerequisite courses, or some of the courses which one can take in masters, or even outside like MOOCs or etc., if one wants to research in the Visual Slam or this IMU plus Visual Slam or something like
Definitely. So, okay, let me take a step back.
that.
So, today is 2020, right?
Yeah,
In 2010, the first MOOC was launched 10 years ago. It was by Sebastian Thrun and Peter Norvig.
yeah,
That was the first one I took. The
okay,
second one was from Andrew NG.
okay,
It is still by far the best machine learning course available online. It took me 3 months to do that course while doing all the other crap which was there on my head from university as well. But it it has still stuck with me. Like that course is probably one of the most important fundamental courses machine learning AI I've ever done. So when you're a student, like let's say you are a bachelor student, let me give you a top down approach and then a bottom up approach. Let's do the top down first. So there is a research group who's doing research in, let's say, SLAM. They are trying to push the boundaries. Um, they are contributing to various things related to visual SLAM or semantic SLAM or something. But what they are doing is they already have the foundations clear. They're only contributing that little bit from their side by, let's say, getting ideas from computer vision community and applying it to a problem. Correct? This is the top-down approach. So if you are inside a research group, that's easy to do for you because you have all of those tools, everything provided to you with already, right? And you're just pushing the boundary in one of the problems. When you're a student, like bottom-up approach, and you're trying to learn about new topics, um, while trying to do research, it's more challenging Because what you want is, first of all, your foundations have to be clear. You have done all the prerequisite, let's say, understanding. So for that, linear algebra, probabilistic robotics. Actually, the probabilistic robotics book is one of my like life theory for the last like 10,
Written
12
by
years.
like Wolfram Burgard and Sebastian.
Burgard, Sebastian Thrun and all. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's one of the best books if you are interested in like slam state estimation in general. There are some, but I wish that book got updated over the last 10 years, but I guess the authors are too busy making autonomous cars and other things now. So maybe someone else will do it. The good thing with the current scenario is like you have so many resources. Actually, maybe there's too many resources right now. So finding the right thing for you is more of a challenge because you jump from one to the other, and getting your foundations clear are challenging. Grad level courses usually help in that. So if there is a professor who's teaching grad level courses and they have posted their, let's say, videos on YouTube, I would watch them. For example, one of from the groups I worked at, from Daniel Kramer's, if you're interested in multi-view geometry and let's say variational programming, watch his lectures. He's like one of the best teachers or lecturers I've ever witnessed. So his name is Daniel Kramers. He's from the TOM CVPR group. Um, and you know, I have a list of resources to go through, and I have no time to finish all of them. So there, it will always be the case that because of these expansions and MOOCs and other things, there is always a width of topics, and you want to keep your focus, right? So I will suggest that when you're stuck at a particular problem, just read about that. Don't worry about how others have tried to solve. Oh, and maybe do this. Go 10 years back in time. Don't look at machine learning approaches, conventionally how people did that. Once you understand that, you will get a good enough intuition why this guy is applying machine learning to it. Because that has usually helped me a lot. You need to find the intuition. Why is this being done? And nowadays there's a lot of push to it. Maybe maybe in next 5-10 years you will see more results of this is for explainable AI. So for example, in SLAM, it needs to be real time on most all the places you want to work on. So there is a hesitance in people to apply these black boxes until unless it's helping in some of the features. For example, from my experiences, place recognition, visual place recognition, which comes directly from image, let's say, image image recognition side of things from CV community has applied directly to SLAM techniques because there's a need of loop closure, and the current, let's say, metric ways of doing it were not adequate enough. So there's always pros and cons for all the things. So go step by step. Find the intuitions, find what how people used to do it. You can usually find really good survey papers on a particular problem. Go through those rather than the state of the art. So right now there is a tendency of going to papers with code, finding the best paper, because there was so much money thrown at this research. There's usually code attached to it. Trying that code. Instead of doing that, understand why they did that. Then you will understand the code much better. Then you can maybe contribute to it. That's usually how things work. Even in research community, it is high, like right now, the shelf life of a new algorithm is less than 6 months. So today, what is novel might not be novel 6 months down the line. So don't worry about it. It's completely possible. It is a competitive field now that so many companies are investing shit ton of resources into it. So it's fine that you can't come up with the same idea they can. It's okay. But if you can find the intuition, maybe you can apply it in a different place. Maybe better than that. Yeah. So don't take your time. It's not. It's going to change very soon. So in 6 months, maybe G, Visual GPT comes
Yeah.
and it replaces all these algorithms. So don't worry about it. Take it slowly. Yeah, that's my thinking as well. Because working in industry as well, applying a lot of these state of the art algorithms is a challenge because the timelines are more trickier. You don't have that much leverage. Um, when you are implementing something, you want it to be tested and verified on a certain set of data, and that's usually not feasible in a lot of problems. So yeah, so, I mean, it's a process. I have seen in the last, let's say, 5 years or so, a huge push into using state of the art algorithms, but people are still very slow in adopting them. So don't worry, they will come in handy. Yeah. And then regarding foundational courses, I will say, yeah, look for professors who are teaching grad level courses like masters, PhD students. Look at those foundational courses and try to do that. Almost all good professors nowadays have a YouTube channel, or their group has a YouTube channel. You can go through that. Nowadays, because of COVID, a lot of good conferences are free.
Yes.
So don't worry about the papers in those conferences. They will help you later in your research if you are already doing research. If you're looking for learning something, go to their tutorials and workshops. Attend those. They are usually always free,
Yes.
and they are one of the best sources of information. Um, you can ask questions in workshops and tutorials. When I attend conferences, I've been attending conferences for the last 10 years or so. I don't worry about the main proceedings. I have to go through that anyway when I get back to understand, because 3 minute advertisements of these papers is not enough. We need to understand it, right? I usually spend most time in workshops and tutorials because I get to talk to the person one on one. If you get that chance, do that. It's really helpful. Yeah.
Yes.
And uh, people also have a very well established curriculum in workshops and tutorials. Or in papers, if everyone jumps from one topic to the other, it's a bit more challenging.
Adding to this thing, so currently, since last 3 4 days, so the conference ICAPS on planning and scheduling is going on, which has focus on
Okay.
like, path planning in robotics, and IROS is of course coming up at the end. So yes,
Yes, I know it's free.
yes, it's free
So
time, so which is a
yeah,
great thing. So I've been
exactly.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I was attending the tutorials and workshops, and all those like profs were there. Adding to it, like they do have this summer school too, which is often free,
exactly.
like
Yeah,
give them the motivation to attend. So yes, all those who are watching that, this is a great time. So video will be released, and the conferences are around the corner, and even I think
exactly.
IPS is around this first week of December. So just go and
Yes,
check out those.
definitely. I will say, like, what I do usually, like during my work times, I usually, yeah, there's all these seminars, summer schools, all of this information is usually on YouTube very soon. All these Zoom meetings are recorded as well. Um, I attended a lot of workshops at CVPR as well recently, and at ICRA as well. ICRA was also kind of free. If you joined the Slack channel, then you could have read through papers and gone through all of them and asked questions to a particular author very easily. It was a bit mismanaged, but it was fine. Like in the end, because it was early, one of the first conferences during the COVID time, but it's fine. Yeah. So yeah, look out for those things. Yeah, that usually helps a lot.
Does this yeah.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like industrial one. Yeah, GTC is usually a really good conference. I don't know if it was free or paid this year.
It's,
Um,
I think many of them were free. I have like subscribed to that mailing
to
list.
some,
Many of them are free.
yeah, yeah. The only thing with industrial setups like this, it's sometimes set up as an advertisement of the company, um, or their partners, so that people can use their products. And so the motivation of sharing all the content with you is slightly less than in academic conference where people are actually, let's say, advertising their research. So as a learner, I would prefer conferences, but as an industrial expert, if you are in industry already looking for some new tools, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it is, yeah, all, like for example, the Apple WWDC and others, think about why they're doing it. That's an important factor, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tell
one
me.
more thing is, so this thing is true even if we are in industry or in research, we do have to keep learning new things. So, if I talk about the robotics domain, so like
Yeah.
if a student like me or Nikhil who will be starting masters now, so
Yeah.
there will be two choices. One is that we take since there is variations going on in research. So one thing is we take the basic subjects, core subjects like classical control system based or
Mhm.
classical planning based, and
Yeah.
other would be taking specialized deep learning or reinforcement learning courses. So like
Yeah.
we do
Yeah.
have to learn outside that also. But according to you, like for the courses in university for that foundation, what should we prefer? Like the specialized AI based courses
Yeah.
or classical courses like control systems, AI, sorry, classical planning, or even other like formal languages verification
Formal
kind of.
languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is a very, let's say, domain specific thing. You so there are two things, right? There's always gonna be foundations related to every problem, like SLAM, controls, perception, all of that. And there's gonna be a state of the art or someone who's doing a specialization, like seminars on those topics. So when I was doing it, what I found was very useful is I took all the foundational courses I could, because like, think about it, back in bachelor's, the responsibility of the university is to train you at bachelor's in technology in ECE. They are not responsible for your foundational courses in control theory or in perception or in SLAM, state estimation. You have to do that. There is no going around it, because that will help you form intuitions and maybe use these problems in novel ways, just the problems themselves, right? How do you solve those problems? Instead of taking specialized courses on it, I will take, if there is a possibility of specialized seminars, which is going through active papers, doing research on those papers, maybe just pick one. Like usually seminars are, so in Germany, how it was structured was a course was 4 credits, a seminar was 6. There was lot more work and assignments and deliverables in a course. In a seminar, all you have to do is read 2 papers, understand them completely, implement them in your own way, and then let's say propose improvements if you can't actually do the improvements. So you get the foundational idea from the core courses, and you push let's say you understand the state of the art research, and you learn from your experiences, because in seminar usually there were like 6, 7, 8 students who were actually really interested in that topic, and all of them will present their ideas. Now you can learn from all of those and try to apply it in a project if possible. I, that's how I did it. And that helps a lot because I had the basics cleared, I had the state of the art understanding, and I got some project experiences. That's the package you want, at least in the problems you are interested in. Let's say you have to take a computer graphics course and you're not at all interested in it, just do the core course because let's say tomorrow you are working somewhere where they want to apply reinforcement learning to graphics. Now you have an open opportunity, right? You have the basics clear, you understand the problem and you understand the research. Maybe you can apply it. Maybe you need some guidance to it, but at least you won't be like out in the blue, right? And this happens a lot in the industrial community right now with like lots of let's say, cross correlated problems which people are trying to solve, like self-driving cars, last mile delivery, autonomous like flying robots and other things as well. So in robotics specifically, if you have this cross understanding, it helps a lot. So what I did was I did basics of controls and planning. And I knew that in my head, I always pictured myself working on perception tasks. So I want to focus on the project side of things,
Okay.
push that down. So yeah, that would help. That usually helps a lot.
Yes.
A lot of my friends did similar things, and that is usually quite helpful. Yeah.
Okay. That was really
Yeah.
great because I am going through the same confusion right now, and I would make
Yeah.
this
You know, it's an iterative process. Like you will take 2 years, you will spend 2 years in a master's degree, right? So you can always bounce those ideas from people. Like I'm thinking of doing this. Does it make sense if this is my aim? Ask people those things, and maybe they can help you in that. Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay. One student from the Y19 had a doubt that do
Yeah.
we really need to do masters for getting good job in industry in these particular two domains, robotics and
Domains.
computer vision, or can a
So
bachelor's
mhm,
student also directly jump into it?
great question. So I usually sit on interviews related to SLAM perception and a little bit on path planning recently as well. Um, I don't care what if you have a degree for something or not. When I ask you questions, if you have a good understanding, if you can solve those problems, and you have shown those experiences, um, it's fine. It's enough for me. Like I want to see intuitions, right? As a because I'm gonna be your colleague or yeah, your manager of some kind, and I will be responsible for you what you produce, correct? So all my worry is that I want to be sure that whatever task I give you related to these domains, you will be able to solve them and still be able to do like the software aspects of things. A lot of the work right now is very software focused. So make sure your software skills are good. Like you have a good understanding of like a lot of companies in robotics still use C++ and a little bit of Python nowadays. So if you're strong on those things, that's always a plus. So it doesn't matter you have a bachelor's or a master's. What master's gives you is more than the courses you do is time management because you have 2 years, you have so much things to cover. 120 credits in 2 years is a lot. You will see that. And you have to manage, like if you let's say go outside of the country, you have to manage your living, your health, your side things as well, some projects you do. So what people see in those things is like how the person has managed things. If they have able to do a lot of different things apart from their courses, people usually appreciate that when they are interviewing people. But in bachelor's, you don't have that much time, right? So don't worry about it. It's completely fine. But that's my preference. A lot of a lot of times, what happens is there are always multiple people applying to a job, correct? And when that comes into picture, people usually prefer someone with more experience, with a master's degree. And in these fields, that experience could be from courses, from projects. So if you can prove to me that you have done a project sincerely for some amount of time and you're good at it, it does not matter. And you will see eventually the lines start to blur a lot, because now in bachelor's universities, a lot of people are doing those courses and are doing those. Like when I was doing my bachelor's, there was no mobile robotics course. It's just like out of my curiosity, I did it. Maybe there were 6 other students in my class out of a batch of 150. So people had the option, but they had other things in mind. So think about that. So if you get a chance, try to do it. If you don't, that's fine. Don't stress too much. A master's is a good way to do it as well.
Okay. Yeah, and similar to what you talked about. So
Yeah.
for the bachelor's or master's, anyone who is looking into this, so besides domain knowledge and projects in the CV, what are some like are there like some basic prerequisites? Like one I would definitely count is C++ and the maybe DSA knowledge. So do
Yeah,
you ask for anything else in job interviews? Like
definitely.
yeah.
So so all the big companies, let's say FANG per se, and then a lot of others look for your problem solving skills a lot, like DSA, algorithms, and other things. A lot of like startups would not spend so much time on your problem solving skills. They assume a few things depending on, let's say, where you have done what, like where you have done your bachelor's, master's, like things like that. Um, a lot of companies, if they are looking for a, let's say, experience in a particular problem, if you have that, that's usually fine. um, I will say, whenever you read about something, so from your CV, it should not look like you have just cloned or forked a GitHub project and just run it. At that point, you're a consumer, right? You're a consumer of something which is already there. How have you tried it out? Like, did you apply it on a different domain? Did you apply it on your own data sets? How did you gain experience from it? How did you got those intuitions? That's what helps a lot. And when you code or you update or you change things a little bit, usually that helps a lot. So a lot of people nowadays look at GitHub profiles as well, where people have contributed what, but sometimes it's challenging. Let's say you are a fresh from bachelor's, you joined a company, all the source code um, is behind black like curtains, so you can't prove it, right? And that's why people ask you these DSA and algorithmic questions to get that out of you. Like whatever you did there, do you understand this? Like, can you solve this problem with me in an hour? All they are seeing is how good you can communicate your thoughts while solving a problem. So focus on that. Try those things out before you go for an interview. Other
This
than
is
the
a
language
year
part and
to
like
even
skill. So how is it going right now? Because of COVID, are companies actually visiting campuses, or like how is it working
for
out right now?
Y17 or the current fourth year batch, they are having these virtual placement drives. So the yeah, so it's all virtual. They have these web cameras and some different apps
Yeah,
they are asking.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in India, we are quite used to having these in-campus or let's say virtual campus placements, right? How things work most of the other places is there's no one coming to you to give you a job. You have to apply somewhere. You have to find that opportunity. And I will say, like even for the current batches in future, this is going to change in India as well, sooner or later, because a lot of companies will stop hiring in bulk like this. They will also be more selective. So when you are, if you are sure that you want to do a job after fourth year, I will say start looking for your dream places. Maybe you won't get them in the first try. Try again. Like They always have some rules like, okay, you can try after 6 months, 10 months, 12 months. And that timeline is not that bad. Don't worry about it. Try again later while showcasing it to them that you have learned as well over time. That usually helps a lot.
Okay. Yes, that would be good for coming batches also.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so one of the next things that we wanted to know about. Okay, so you
yeah.
told that you have done 1 year at Bremen and 1 year at UM. So was it just the master thesis at UM, or you did other courses also?
Yes, so I did one course there. It
Okay.
was more like a seminar from the research group I was doing.
Okay.
I earned some credits which got applied to my master, and my thesis was there. So how it was in Bremen was in the third semester of my master's, I had to do a thesis proposal, which was also like 6 to 8 credits or something. So that proposal plus the seminar was done at TU Munich, and then I did my thesis in TU Munich as well. So in Europe, usually people are very flexible. Talk to your whatever your department head and your dean of academic affairs. If both of them agree, get that in writing if possible, that I'm going to be doing this. It usually helps a lot, because let's say 1 year down the line that dean changes or someone else becomes your academic head and they have no idea like who the hell allowed this, you have a proof. And they can't like revert back. And in Europe, people are usually very helpful as well. There are some really interesting Erasmus courses in Europe as well, with like one semester in each,
Yeah.
one semester in one university.
And EIT digital courses were there.
Exactly. So those are really good. Although you are, if you let's say you like the city you were living in the first semester, now you are all nostalgic about it in the second semester. So if you have the option, I will say go to one place, take friends, do your work, learn from the place as well, because it's you are outside of your comfort zone in this new country. So if you are integrated in their culture, that helps a lot.
Yeah. So, like while applying for master thesis, so say if I'm like I have explored other universities too, because Salin has a great group for computer vision and all, but there in Bremen, especially the DFKI working in DF
Yeah,
in Bremen, and even the robotics group in TUM and University of Freiburg. So some of these were like
yeah.
of my interest. So when we apply to them for master thesis, do they focus on your grades, your publications, or your CV? So what do they exactly give more importance, or is it a balanced approach?
Good question. Yeah, for the thesis, like so, so a lot of these people, what they are looking for is you should take the initiative. You should have at least some picture of what you want to do in your thesis. So for me, what happened was there was RSS in Hamburg that year, 2011 or something.
Okay.
So I went to that and I met these people. So there was one guy like from TU Munich and another from University of Toulouse, and they were giving some talks. And I asked them questions like, okay, I want to do research in this field. Um, like, do you have some position? Is it possible if you can fund me for it and things like that? That usually helps if you can talk to them in person. If that's not possible, you will send an email, but propose what you're gonna do. At least an idea. Like, I really like this topic and I've read your papers on this. This is how I think we are quite aligned. That will show that person that you have done your steps, right? It saves them time. You'll remember in Germany, a lot of the core main professors have very less time. They are literally like managing a group of 30, 40 odd people easily. So they have a full-time job of just people management and resource management, like the money and grants and everything. They have way less time for a master's student. So most probably that professor is never gonna talk to you. you're gonna work with one of his postdocs or yeah, PhD students pushing their research along with them. So find that pocket, propose that I'm really willing to work with so and so person. If it's possible for you and your group to host me for a semester, um, if that is a possibility, that's great. You don't even have to attach your CV in the beginning. See what their response is. If they are willing, then they will already ask you, okay, so what courses have you done? If you all, so think about it, like this is a negotiation, right? They should get something out of you and you should get something out of it. So it's a win-win for both. They want good research, and you want good um, good research as well for the master. I was writing my master thesis. I also was working at BMW Research in Munich. So if you can get these industrial experiences, that usually helps a lot, because then you have a perspective position. If you work well, to get these things done as well. So, and people say that the masters should be 2 years. Strictly speaking, in European schools, no one cares. So even if you take 3 years to complete it, but you get really good experience, that's fine. It's completely okay. Don't stress yourself about it, that you have to finish it at this date. Usually what happens is, because in Bremen the dates were a bit different than in Munich. My thesis was submitted in July, August. In So in Munich they accepted it in September. So I had to wait another few months to get my grade, which then went to Bremen, and then I got my final degree. So it takes a bit, but usually that's fine. If you are getting good experience, it's worth it. Yeah.
And like similar to what you said, so that like I have two questions. So one is, if you want to apply for PhD, where the same the same thing you told
Professor.
uh, especially in groups, research groups or profs, the same thing which you told about thesis would follow.
Yeah,
Second, for
exactly.
industrial, then if we go for industrial, say master thesis,
Thesis.
even from
Yeah.
Thailand, I have seen students getting into masters into Power AI. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so do they, does similar thing follows for the master thesis in industry also, or do they look for
Yeah. So master thesis in industry. Yeah, with industry, you so what will happen is, usually industrial master thesis or even PhD thesis are very, let's say, well defined, because they want to not spend extra time and they want to get a particular thing done. And why is it like that? A lot of industries in Germany have their main, like, let's say, technical leaders. They are already PhDs, and they are like professors who joined this company as an advisor or something. And usually they have a very good collaboration with a close by university, right? And that's how industrial PhDs are a thing in Germany, and not so much in, let's say, States, because the university industry collaboration is way less here in North America than in Europe. So, and because there is a professor attached to it, the professor will contribute to it as well, and they have a very fixed, rigid topic. If that aligns with what you want to do, perfect. Like, it's a win-win, right? You will get probably paid a little bit more than while doing a master's in a research group, and yeah, you will get an industrial experience working in a company as a master thesis student. That's really fun.
yes.
And
So
in the end, you write a thesis, so it's all exactly the same thing, just in a company rather than a research group. Yeah.
okay, so the industrial PhD also works in this way there.
So industrial PhDs are a bit tricky. Not all the companies offer them. Like the core German companies like BMW, Research, Bosch, they do it. What happens is, it's also a very stricter timeline. So you work 3 to 3.5 years as a PhD student. You are doing research. Obviously, your research is a bit tight because they don't want to share all the information. So, like BMW Research, there were about 30 PhD students.
Okay.
maybe 20, when I was working there. I got offered a PhD there as well. But you have to remember that for 3 years you'll be tied with this group.
Okay.
It's the same questions with a normal PhD, right? It's more stricter timelines, and at the graduation, like when you present these papers that you have published, um, what happens is you become a full-time engineer at that point in the company as like a manager, and now you manage other master students, PhD students, or a project. So it's all both have their own pros and cons. So do according to what, yeah, it feels like it. But yeah, think about it that um, industrial PhDs are a tiny bit different. They have a stricter timeline. It's more rigorous. Like you have to manage your times very well. You might end up working 60, 70 hours a week easily because you are working for the company and you are doing your PhD as well.
Okay.
So you have a little bit of overhead of sort,
Okay.
but it's quite common in Europe.
Yes, I think Neha was also from your batch, did industrial PhD. I'm not sure.
Oh, Neha
Neha,
Baheti?
yeah. I think
No, she did not do an
I was
industrial PhD.
okay.
She's starting her like executive MBA program.
Okay, okay,
But there, I don't. I'm trying to remember. Like I have friends who are doing industrial PhDs in
okay.
Munich, but they must have graduated by now. So it's a yeah, it's a bit different. And at that point, you can now decide: do you want to be a lecturer or do you want to go in academia or stick in industry? A lot of people just stay in industry because you already know these people, and if you like working there, then why not?
Okay. Okay. And one more interesting thing that I came across was the RoboCups because I have been following the RoboCups since last many years. So how was your experience with? I think 2 years back you participated with
Yes.
your.
Yeah, so interesting question. So we participated in the search and rescue RoboCup, like the search and rescue division. Um, and because the group in Bremen, which I was working with, specializes in search and rescue. So they do a lot of like perception, planning, controls, connectivity maintenance, and things like that for search and rescue robots. Um, it was really fun. You know, competitions bring um, things like research to application very fast, and that's why like self-driving cars and Atlas robots and other things have accelerated so much. Because what you're trying to do is pick this thing up that someone proposed in one of the papers, now trying to get it to run. So you get into that like research to engineering mode in a very strict timeline, and that's what the biggest benefit of a competition is. In Europe, there are a lot of now competitions, not just Robocup, others as well, which are really interesting. So if you are interested in it, you can propose to join it as an individual. A great thing is nowadays is good simulation as well, so you could try all of that yourself. And maybe not the full stack, but a particular problem, and that's also very feasible. I think they are a really good source of, although I've seen people, so one of the PhD students in Micro in Bremen, he had done RoboCup search and rescue for 4 years or so. And he was so engrossed in it that it took him like 6 years to finish his PhD. So if your advisor is fine with that, then why not, right? Like if you really like the problem, it's completely fine.
Mhm. And recently, like even in CVPR, IROS, so they are having these competitions. This year also they had in simulation. So yes, I think
Exactly.
that's a good opportunity for even bachelor's students and
Yeah.
master
Even
students.
because the problem is usually a bit more constrained.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and if you like the problem and you can contribute to it, why not, right? I will say at this point in time that because of this like COVID-19, everything is so well structured for remote work that maybe you are able to find like a team partner all the way across the globe who's experienced in something else. Oh, there are a lot of, so I use Reddit a lot, and there are a lot of good subreddits
Okay.
related to robotics, computer vision, and usually they have an associated Discord channel.
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys are interested in something
Yeah.
and you want to learn or you want to find a team partner, join these subreddits, read what people are doing, go to the Discord, chat with random people across the world. Maybe you learn from their experiences. Maybe they do from yours, and that's how. Yeah, it's quite a good way of connecting. If you're not able to find that particular expertise in your friends or your circle, look other places because it's quite works quite well. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So before we conclude it, I think we can have some fun question and one last thing for. Okay, so it will be two things. So one would be any advice for the current bachelor students, especially those who are aiming for higher studies and all. And second would be if you remember any fun incident or any best fun or comic experience from your college life. So we'll be glad to hear about it.
Definitely. So, okay, one of the advice is like what is right now going in this world, like COVID and everything related to it. Don't take it to your heart. You're not you're not the only one who's unlucky. There's a lot of people who are suffering, and if this too shall pass, like it's not permanent thing. So if you are graduating and you're thinking, why is this world so fucked up right now? Don't worry, it will get better. You will find your place in this world, and things will get on track very soon. Maybe other people can do it faster than you, or somehow things click for them and not for you. But don't lose hope. Just do the right thing, right? Don't just be patient. And you have got like it's been 10 years since I've been away from home. So if you are at home, enjoy that as much as you can. This really helps to prepare you for the rest of your journey. Yeah, it's one of those experiences. And then the second question was some funny incident at Alumni. Wow. So yeah, I don't remember anything. Yeah, I'm trying to figure what's something I could share. Okay, yeah, let me share this. So, um, yeah, the one of the most funny parts is like I'm not someone who wears like formals or anything like that, and the I think it was during like third year or fourth year sometime, and TCS was coming to our campus, and I knew that I was not gonna work at any company, and I wanted to pursue masters and or PhD if I could find one. And yeah, and I did find each part of a formal clothing from borrowed from one or the other person, and somehow I was there during my interview, and somehow I got it as well. Like I got offer from TCS, but in the end I decided not to join it. But you never know why you will end up doing something you might not like at the beginning. But if you are getting an opportunity, don't throw it away. Do try it out. It usually is a fun experience. Yeah. So if you have an opportunity and someone is asking you to come to you for an interview, do it. You might learn from that person. It's usually fun. Yeah.
Okay. So that has been a really great session, and even I think first and second year guys would find it very interesting, especially because
Yeah.
they had some similar questions and which I didn't even ask because you already covered those in the beginning. So yes, I
Yeah.
think it will be great for them as well as for us who are starting a masters right now.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and yeah, if you guys if you're working in robotics, probably our paths will cross again. So yeah, keep learning, and yeah, don't worry, everything will be fine. The COVID is like there, but it will pass eventually. Yeah, and just be careful. Don't like think it's just a flu. It's not just a flu. It is a pandemic. So be careful and keep your family and yourself safe as well.